Jamie Kristow is the CEO of Cotswold Outdoor Group, and he has just spent the last 2 years totally reimagining their retail media experience. And my goodness, guys, have there been some results.
We saw over a 30% increase in share of revenue for ASICS across that period. We saw a 14% increase in online conversion. And in stores where we activated retail media versus comparable stores where we didn't, we saw over a 20% unit uplift in the stores where we activated.
In this episode, he talks about how they delivered one of the most incredible campaigns with ASICS around the London Marathon, and so much more. You are going to love it. There are so many insights. He has done some amazing things. I got to interview him at Shoptalk Europe, and you can go listen to it right now.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome, Jamie, to Marketing in the Madness, live at Shoptalk Europe.
Thank you.
Jamie, before we get into stuff, I want you to introduce your role, and because I didn't even know all the brands that you guys have under your umbrella, a bit about Cotswold Outdoor, if I can talk, a little bit about Cotswold Outdoor.
So my name is Jamie Kristow. I'm the CEO of Cotswold Outdoor Group. So we've got 3 fascias in the UK. So Cotswold Outdoor, so that's in all your outdoor needs. We've got Runners Need, which is a specialised running retailer, and then we've got our premium Snow+Rock business for servicing anyone in the snow sports industry.
All of which I have spent far too much money at. and definitely, I was just saying to you, Snow+Rock, I used to live opposite in Covent Garden.
Mercer Street.
On Mercer Street.
Number 1 store.
Yeah. I love that store. I have spent a lot of money on skiing, well, all kinds of ski gear in there, but mainly like the nice designer jackets.
Yeah, we do some nice stuff. You can spend a lot of money with us, which
Really
is,
nice.
again, a good thing.
Yeah. Now, as much as I want to talk about just that all day, I want to talk about the kind of transformation and things that you guys have been doing, because you've made some quite big shifts over the past year. Can you tell me what those shifts are?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the business now for 2 years. Probably my initial observations when I joined the business was that we had some great brands. We had amazing staff that gave really good product knowledge, but our environment wasn't focused around the customer enough. It wasn't a really engaging environment where you could be really inspired to shop. And we had I spent about my first 4 weeks visiting stores around the UK and trying to get a real sense of the business. And I think we just needed to elevate our business and make the shopping environment more attractive, more inspirational, because we are selling very high-end products. We're selling, products that you'll go skiing with, products that you potentially could climb a mountain with or run a marathon with. So those are sort of very highly specialized and very important products. You don't want to run a shoe with run a marathon with a shoe that rubs, or climb halfway up a mountain and have a product fail. So they're really important mission shops. And then we work with some of the best brands in the world. So whether it's Solomon or Arc'teryx or On or ASICS, we worked with some of the best brands across those 3 fascias. And my initial observations is we were doing a poor job of serving the customer in terms of product information and helping them to give confidence out of their purchase unless they spoke to someone. But visually, they weren't getting that information when they walked around the store. You then talk to our brand partners, and they were, to a degree, a little bit frustrated because they've got all this R&D, all this technology, all this brand information, and they really want to get that information to the customer. So what we've spent a lot of time in the last 12 months is improving our store network from a visual merchandising perspective, but then we've also introduced a retail media network, which is allowing us or giving us the conduit to make the environment more engaging for the consumer and solve the problem for the brand partner who really wants to serve our product information to help with preference and to help with point of purchase decision making.
So there's been a lot of talk, I feel, about retail media in the last few years, certainly at the tech shows like Shoptalk. I've seen it, especially in America, actually, over the last 2 years. What does it actually, when we're talking retail media, what does that mean in practical terms, just to really bring it to life for our audience? What kind of things do you introduce it?
We've tried to, there's a very easy trap to fall into if you just think about retail media as possibly an incremental revenue stream. We're using our retail media strategy to try and solve a customer mission. So we've tried to really anchor the customer in the middle And as I said, we're trying to make those store environments more engaging. We're trying to get the right relevant product information to those consumers. And we're combining that with a retail media network that is powered by data. So I suppose what it means is it's about getting more meaningful and relevant content information to the consumer, either on your website, through your social media channels, or in your stores. Or what we've done recently in some of our brand campaigns is we're connecting all of those three channels together. So when the consumer is doing their research online, but they might be buying in store, they've got that common thread that goes through right to point of purchase, which is then really validated where they do a gait analysis, or they try on, or they speak to one of our associates in store. So really it's trying to build an ecosystem where you get consistency and you get validation and you get confidence for the consumer of the shop.
So you've talked about building a retail media network with the customer in the middle, but also, of course, there's the brand side of things as well. I'm guessing that you have to have quite deep relationships with the brands to, I guess, help them tell their stories and to make sure that the customers are understanding the right products and the right brands for them.
Yeah, Cotswold Outdoor has been around for 50 years, so we have very deep relationships with the premium outdoor brands around the world. Same for our runner's knee business. We've got, the top running brands in the world. We've had good relationships with our brands. What we're trying to do is really deepen and strengthen and bring our partnerships closer together. So it's more of an integrated partnership. And what we've been doing with our brands is trying to fulfill their purpose and their vision to inform the customer and get connected to the customer. The difference that we have versus the brands is we have, over 65 physical locations across the UK. Most of these brands are global, so they don't invest heavily in store networks across the UK. They maybe have some flagship locations in, big cities. So we have the physical environment. So what we're bringing that marketing conversation together, so we can get the brands to actually engage with our consumer. Now, 80% of our transactions are linked to first-party data. So we have the opportunity to allow our brands to leverage our first-party data to get really more meaningful media results with a very segmented campaign approach.
I love that. So they're learning from you. You're learning from them. The amount of data you must collect across just your own brands, but then you're helping them collecting more data as well.
Yeah, we're bringing it all together. So we've done a lot of work on our data in the last couple of years. We're upgrading our CRM system. I think the best example of how we're working with brands is probably our ASICS campaign that we ran alongside the London Marathon. So we partnered with ASICS around a 360 retail media campaign. So everything from sponsored listings, tiles, banners, social media adverts, digital screens in store, and window takeovers through the duration and the build up to the London Marathon. So ASICS have been a great partner on this, and we did this all on the foundation of our Zitcher platform, which has been a great tech provider. All this came together from a consumer point of view, and we saw over a 30% increase in share of revenue for ASICS across that period. We saw a 14% increase in online conversion, and in stores where we activated retail media versus comparable stores where we didn't, we saw over a 20% unit uplift in the stores where we activated. So we proved out the campaign. We did a previous campaign with Hocker earlier in the year and similar results. What that's showing to the brands is that we're a really meaningful place to invest media. And what it's showing to our customers is we give them a lot more confidence to purchase. We're solving those two problems at the same time. And how we're deepening our relationships with our brands now is that we're taking an incremental approach. My commitment to our brand partners is to prove incrementality. And solve our customers' mission problems. So we take it one step at a time, one quarter at a time, one campaign at a time, and then we work with the brand to understand what are they trying to achieve in terms of their franchise launches or the new shoe or the new hiking boot, and then we build a bespoke campaign for that brand to activate in our physical and digital channels.
I love that. And it's so connected. It's, almost taking omni-channel to a whole new level. It's in store, it's out of store, it's digital. I'm guessing it all works together, so it's hard to kind of measure which element is providing the most effectiveness, and maybe none of them are because they're working in this kind of, really nice marketing retail media ecosystem. But is there anything that you think is impacting things? Because there's been so much talk over the past few years about, the importance of in-store experiences again, and I think we chatted about this just before we started officially recording. Is digital has often taken a lot of the credit for, the amazing journeys and purchases and that measurement, because it's easier to track. But actually, the stuff that you guys are doing in store at the point of purchase is also having quite a big impact. So how do you, sorry, massive question.
That's okay.
Talking a lot. But how do you measure that and bring it all together?
I think where we're seeing the most meaningful differences are those categories where the consideration and the research is done online, but the purchase is predominantly done in store. And I'm talking about running shoes that are linked to a gait analysis. I'm talking about hiking boots for a serious hiking jet, or a ski boot fitting that can take 2 hours. And I know you're very excited about skiing, so we'll talk about skiing. So if you think about a ski boot business, over 95% of it is done in store, because it's a very important purchase, one from a comfort, but also from a safety point of view. And there's a lot of product knowledge. It's a 2-hour boot fitting to get the right boots. So, but the research always starts online. So the customer comes into store, they have a preconception of the brand or the style that they want. They then engage with our very knowledgeable associates, and then we combine that in-store 2-hour piece with subtle retail media activations in the store. Can be screens, it can be other activations, to actually then reinforce that research that they've done offline, the conversation they've had the sales associate, and some digital signage in store as well. And that's really important for the customer, because I think when you've done that research, you've taken the time to come in store, you've made a booking, you're at point of purchase, your mind is open to suggestions and recommendations. So I think it's helpful for the consumer if those recommendations are very targeted, and it's super attractive for the brands, because it could be the difference between brand X or brand Y. But if those retail media messages and their quality, or their, or the fit, or all that R&D knowledge is coming through to the consumer, we can see it can really influence that point of purchase.
Yeah. What are your favorite ski boots? Do you ski?
I've just started skiing again after a long time. I went skiing earlier in the year, and it literally is like riding a bike. I absolutely loved it. I will be buying some ski boots later this year, I think.
Nice. I don't know if I'm allowed to rep a brand, but I'm going to. Me and my daughter both got Atomic.
Yeah,
because they have
a very good brand.
We've got very long, bony bodies, apparently. So they do a special extra narrow zip, which work for us. They're the best boots for me.
I have to try them.
My confidence in skiing is so much better knowing I've got boots that fit. Because when I used to hire them, every time I'd be like, the boots don't fit right, or they're rubbing, or I'm getting and it's a game changer. So like you say, it's worth that 2-hour fitting.
Yes.
Yeah, it's because you're going to wear them and you need them to work.
You need to give consumers the confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't want a bad experience of going skiing and then the boots rub, because that just has a long-term negative impact on that brand, our brand, and the whole customer experience.
Exactly. So I think it's super interesting what you guys are doing. Now, this isn't in my questions, but I like to break the briefs, Jamie. So this isn't retail media, but I'm sure it's going to be coming. Of course, the LLMs are here now, where we were talking about this kind of research journey up front. Obviously, we are. I must say that this is a perfect case of how and where I would use a ChatGPT or a Claude, whatever it might be, to actually go, do you know what? I've got very narrow feet. I need this style of boot. I want something that's secure, something that's going to last, something that looks nice. The different things that I'm particularly interested in. How are you guys navigating, making sure that because it's very different, right? The way that agents, they match rather than, so how are you making sure that the agents are finding you, as well as obviously the retail media is doing its thing, but how and is that something that is
it's been a big focus for us, and probably a really big focus for the last 2 years. So we have been certainly with retail media in mind, and general CRM strategies in mind, and then the whole explosion of the new search journey has accelerated our thinking. But we've been doing a lot of work on data hygiene, unification of data, making sure that our data is not siloed across digital channels and physical channels. We're also making sure we put a lot more rigor into how we collect data, so it's more valuable and robust. So we're on a journey. We're certainly not perfect, but we have a big focus on optimizing a new CRM system, which we're launching later this year. So we want to make sure that data is really integral, it's cleansed, it's managed. And I think once we've done that gives us the opportunity to be more relevant. And then we need to look at how we're setting our website up in terms of product features, in terms of reviews, and all of those things that I think the bots or the LMM machines are picking up. We need those reference points, which are super important. So I'm sure it will change, maybe even before this podcast goes live, but because everything is changing all the time. But yeah, data is super important that you get the foundations right.
Yeah, and we're here to learn. Like, we are in the hub of activity of where all the tech companies telling us what they're doing with the LLMs and how they can help you get surfaced.
Exactly.
So we're in the right place to learn, that's for sure. Okay, big question. Looking 1 or 2 years ahead, what do you think shoppers will actually notice as the stores become more connected, contextually and commercially?
I think consumers aren't going to necessarily notice that we've embarked on a retail media strategy at Cotswold Outdoor. I think they're going to subtly notice an evolution over time of a more engaged and helpful environment. I think they're gonna hopefully have less friction points through the customer journey. I think they're going to be more informed and more confident at point of purchase. I mean, we're seeing where we rolled out our first 5 stores from a full retail media kit, we're seeing almost a double-digit increase in conversion and ATV in those stores. So we're seeing flat traffic in these locations, but we're seeing really nice, healthy increases in conversion. And that's signaling to us, is showing that consumers are more confident to purchase. So I think that's what consumers will feel. They'll just feel a more engaging environment, which I think then links onto frequency. It links onto, in terms of review performance. So I think that's the evolution that we'll see, is we're just more helpful as a retailer. We're informing consumers and we're giving them more confidence to spend, both online and in store. I think that's how the journey, we hope, is going to shape up.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
I absolutely love shopping.
Yeah.
So I love to hear this. And I do, I've shopped at all of your stores. So it's super interesting to see, I think a lot of the stuff that you guys sell, certainly at that more expensive end, Snow and Rock probably particularly in mind here. But, I want to go into stores to make those purchases. I want to, if I'm spending, hundreds of pounds on a ski jacket and hundreds of pounds on ski boots, you have to, you can't buy your ski boots online. You have to have them fitted.
Yeah.
So I think that, the full customer journey is evolving. It feels like it's becoming more caring, is what I'm going to say.
It's becoming more caring. I think it's becoming more relevant. And I think because we sell such considered items and they're considered purchases, we're also trying to reorienteer the whole business. So rather than just having a siloed merchandising, buy-in, retail marketing focus, our retail media introduction or evolution is helping to galvanize our whole go-to-market approach. So we are now starting the retail media journey at the buyers with the brands. So the buyers, for example, now have more ownership of that journey and understanding where the brands want to activate, what are the really important franchises next year. So their role is actually now not just going to buy the best range, it's actually working with the brands in terms of what the marketing story needs to be, and following that through straight from the buying appointment all the way through the merchandising team in terms of how they range, the marketing team in terms of what assets are important, what inventory is important, and then the selling channels across stores and online in terms of how that comes to life. We would probably be doing that more 2 to 3 months out before. We're now doing that 12 to 14 months out, and we're following that all the way through. So it's not really a point of execution strategy for us. It's a whole business strategy that we're engineering retail media as a common thread through the whole organization.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing as well. People trust your brands. They trust, Cotswolds, they trust Snow and Rock, and therefore they trust the brands, that you stock and sell in a store and online because they trust you.
Yeah.
On that, again, going off piece, I've put them down. I've put them down at this point. Oh, there we go. So link back to skiing there. How do you pick the right brands to, like, if you're looking at, to stock, to actually work with moving forward? How are you kind of evaluating that?
We have a fairly stable set of brands that have been with us for a long time, but there always is a market evolution. There's some new running brands that have come into the market. Look at Hoka and On over the last 5 to 8 years. So I think our buyers are always scouting to understand the challenger brands that are coming up, and then their relevance to the UK consumer. So I think it's important that we, protect our, and build on our long-term strategic relationships, but we're also eyes wide open to, the latest trends. And I think in our space, we're not fashion. There is definitely an intersect between outdoor and fashion now for the whole Gorp core trend. However, that technical element and that mission shopping is still super important. But if there is a new brand that is challenging and disrupting in that space, then we need to be eyes wide open to testing those brands in our environment, in a small number of stores, and working out with the consumer if they should be in the majority of our network. So that's the role of the buyer, to make sure they've got, they're protecting the relationships, they're building the business, but they're also making sure that we're relevant next year, the year after, and the year after that as well.
Such an interesting business that you've got. There's so much more complex than a lot of brands, but in a really brilliant.
Yeah, it's super interesting.
Yeah, I love it. Now we're at Shop Talk.
Yeah.
My last question, is going to be about what you've either seen, but I know it's day one and morning, but what you've seen at the show, or what you're excited to, the topics, the talks that you're excited to see for the next couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, I think retail media is becoming a very mainstream conversation at Shop Talk. I think it was big and growing last year. I think I'm really interested to see how it's coming to life across the next couple of days. So yeah, looking to get other retailers' perspective on their journey. I've got a chat with the team of John Lewis later, so it'd be interesting to understand how it's working for them. And I think it's interesting to talk to people in different sectors, whether it's DIY, whether it's department store, whether it's fashion, and understanding the learnings that other retailers and other brands are finding along the way. So I'm here with my ears open and open for sharing and learning from other retailers who are walking a similar path.
Love that. Jamie, thank you so much.
Thank you,
You've been an
Katie.
amazing guest. I'll give you a little high five.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed it.
Rest of the show.
Excellent. Thank you.